Yesterday, the NFL posted on their social medias who has the better receiving core in New York, the Jets or the Giants. And it got a lot of people talking, and I just wanted to make a video about it to express my opinion. And the way I'm going to help determine who has the better core is kind of like a game. So I'm going to first talk about who has the better receiver number one, then I'm going to talk about who has the better rookie receiver, then I'm going to talk about who has like the better wide receiver 2 and 3, and then I'm going to talk about who has the better receiver depth. And whoever I pick in each section gets a point, and if I can't decide, I'm just going to give each team a half point. So without further ado, let's talk about it. So for our first matchup, let's start off with the wide receiver number ones, Corey Davis and Kenny Golladay, and let's start off with Golladay. So he was a third-round pick back in 2017, and in his rookie year, he had 477 receiving yards, which I think is a decent stat line for a third-round pick. Then in 2018 and 19, he had back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons, and in 2019, he was selected to the Pro Bowl. And then this past year, he missed a lot of time due to injury, only ended up playing in 5 games, and in those 5 games, he had 338 receiving yards. Now, this offseason, the Giants paid Kenny Golladay $72 million, made him the 7th highest paid receiver in the NFL. I don't think Galladay's a top 10 guy. I mean, maybe if Matthew Stafford could have played more, and maybe if Golladay had more consistent QB play, he would be in the top 10 convo. But as of now, I just don't think he's it. And the Giants most likely gave him this money because they assumed he would turn into a top 10 guy over time, and they just wouldn't have to restructure when the time came. But I do think he's better than Corey Davis. I mean, look, Davis was in the same draft. He was the 5th-round pick in 2017, and I would say disappointed for a 5th-round pick. You know, he didn't do those great things like the Titans expected he would. And in his rookie year, he also missed time, but had 375 yards, which is a good bit for playing in 9 games. And then in 2018, he stepped up, had 891 yards, and then in 2019, he took a step down, had 601, but then this year, he had 984 receiving yards and would have had 1,000 if he didn't miss time due to COVID protocols. Now, I think this is a decent stat line for a wide receiver 2 and a run-heavy offense. And just imagine if Corey Davis was in Kenny Galladay's shoes. Like, what if he was that receiver on the Lions? His stats would most likely be better in that pass-heavy offense. And now he's coming to the New York Jets in an offense that he fits in because he was really good in play-action passes in 2020, Corey Davis. And now he's coming to the Jets offense where we're going to be relying a lot on play-action plays. I ultimately think he's going to have, I think he's going to be better than Golladay over time. I think he has a chance to, but as of now, he's not, and I'm going to have to give the points to the Giants on this one. Now onto the rookie receivers, Kadarius Toney versus Elijah Moore. I'm going to have to give it to the Jets right here. When the Giants selected Toney over Moore, I was shocked. I've always thought Elijah Moore was a better receiver than Kadarius Toney. If the Jets had Toney and the Giants had Moore, I would be giving the point to the Giants because I just think Moore's a better receiver than Toney. But it's the other way around, and I'm going to be giving the New York Jets the point right here. Now let's go into the competition between 2s and 3s. So we're going to start off with the slot guys. Sterling Shepard versus Jamison Crowder. The Jets are getting the point here. Every time you talk about top 10 slot receivers in the NFL, Jamison Crowder's on that list. During his time with the New York Jets, he's really been underappreciated because he's been a safety blanket for our quarterbacks. There would be times last season where Darnold and Flacco would be in the pocket, no one be open, then all of a sudden they would just chuck it out to Jamison Crowder and he would get a nice 20-something yard gain. And so Crowder, he's a top 10 guy in the NFL, and I just don't know if I could say the same about Sterling Shepard. He's had his moments for sure. He's had decent stats, but I just don't know if he's a top 10 slot guy. I mean, they drafted Kadarius Toney after all to kind of be his replacement, so that's all I'm saying. And, the Jets did the same thing with Moore replacing Crowder, but it's different because Crowder's a bit on the older side, and Shepard's still fairly young. So I'm going to have to give the Jets the point right here with Crowder. And then onto the outside guys, I'm giving the Giants the point. Look, Darius Slayton, he's had a better career than Mims in the NFL. We just don't know what Mims is capable of. I mean, we've seen his potential. We know what he can do. We just don't know if he can do that in a full 16-game season, if he can do that week in and week out. And Darius Slayton has done that week in and week out. So I'm giving him the point right here. So far, it's tied 2-2. And on to our tiebreaker, which is the depth. I'm going to have to give the New York Jets the point here. Look, the Jets' top 2 depth guys, Keelan Cole and Braxton Berrios. The Giants' top 2 depth guys, John Ross and Dante Pettis. Now, on name recognition, you're probably going to give the Giants the point here because John Ross was a top 10 pick and Dante Pettis was a 2nd-round pick. But so far throughout their NFL careers, they've been bust. And if Kenny Golladay or Darius Slayton were to go down with an injury, I just don't know if they would keep the receiver play consistent. But I can say that for the New York Jets, our receiver play can be consistent if our depth guys can come in. Like Keelan Cole, he put up similar stats to Darius Slayton last year as a wide receiver 4. Like, this is a really talented guy, one of the more underrated free agent signings this year. Super excited the New York Jets finally got a good depth guy in Keelan Cole, and this is what gives us the edge. I think the New York Jets have a better receiver room than the New York Giants, big part due to the depth. Because if you don't have a good depth, you really don't have a good receiving room. We saw this many years for the New York Jets. We had a pretty good combination of Robbie Anderson and Jamison Crowder, but when those guys were hurt, we had no one to replace them. You know, depth has just been a real problem for the Jets, and if you have no one to replace those guys when they're hurt, you really don't have a good room. So I'm giving the New York Jets the one here, and I think we have the better receiving core. Well, thank you guys for taking time out of your day to watch this video. If you ended up enjoying, let me know by hitting the subscribe and like button. Follow me on social media, G_Jets on Instagram and Twitter. Links are also down below in the description. And comment below your thoughts on today's video. And if for some reason the comments are turned off, hit me up on my social medias. Well, I'm your host, Jets, signing off for now. See you later.